Minnesota Real Estate License Exam. Question 1. A tenant with a disability asks for an assigned accessible parking space near the entrance. What fair housing concept is most directly involved for Finley in Woodbury involving a lake cabin priced at $320,500? Option A. Reasonable accommodation. Option B. Adverse possession. Option C. Yield spread premium. Option D. Defeasance clause. The correct answer is option A. Reasonable accommodation. A reasonable accommodation is a change in rules, policies, or services that may be needed for a person with a disability to use and enjoy housing. Adverse possession concerns ownership claims, yield spread premiums concern loan compensation, and defeasance clauses concern loan satisfaction. The requested parking change involves access to housing. Question 2. A buyer purchases a $386,500 property with a 90% loan. What is the approximate loan amount? Option A. $38,650. Option B. $347,850. Option C. $23,190. Option D. $5,900. The correct answer is option B. $347,850. Loan amount is found by multiplying the sale price by the loan-to-value percentage. Down payment is the remaining equity, commission is based on brokerage compensation, and annual tax is a government charge. The loan-to-value percentage controls the financing amount. Question 3. In appraisal, what does highest and best use require for Reese and Eden Prairie involving a farm parcel priced at $457,500? Option A. The use that produces the highest commission. Option B. The use preferred by the current tenant only. Option C. A use that is legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, and maximally productive. Option D. The use with the lowest property tax bill. The correct answer is option C. A use that is legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, and maximally productive. Highest and best use considers legal, physical, financial, and productivity tests. Commission, tenant preference, and tax savings alone do not determine highest and best use. The concept focuses on the most supportable use of the property as real estate. Question 4. A factory closure outside the neighborhood reduces demand for nearby homes. What type of depreciation does this suggest for Riley and Stillwater involving a vacant lot priced at $253,500? Option A. Physical deterioration only. Option B. A functional obsolescence only. Option C. Accession. Option D. External obsolescence. The correct answer is option D. External obsolescence. External obsolescence is value loss caused by factors outside the property, such as economic changes or adverse surroundings. Physical deterioration is wear and tear, while functional obsolescence is internal design deficiency. A factory closure is external to the property. Question 5. An easement benefits a neighboring parcel by allowing driveway access across Kendall Rivera's land. What type of easement is most likely? Option A. Easement appurtenant. Option B. Personal license only. Option C. Trade fixture. Option D. A mechanic's lien. The correct answer is option A. Easement appurtenant. An easement appurtenant benefits another parcel and usually runs with the land. A personal license is revocable permission, a trade fixture is tenant property, and a mechanic's lien secures payment for improvements. The presence of a benefited parcel points to an appurtenant easement. Question 6. Why should a purchase agreement for a lake cabin in Minneapolis be in writing and signed by the party to be charged? Option A. All oral contracts are criminal offenses. Option B. The statute of frauds requires most real estate sale contracts to be in writing to be enforceable. Option C. Only lenders may sign real estate contracts. Option D. A deed is unnecessary if the parties shake hands. The correct answer is option B. The statute of frauds requires most real estate sale contracts to be in writing to be enforceable. The statute of frauds generally requires contracts for the sale of real property to be in writing and signed by the party to be charged. Oral agreements may fail enforceability even if the parties intended a deal. Lender-only signatures and handshake transfers do not replace the required written contract and later conveyance documents. Question 7. A city takes private land for a public road after paying just compensation. What power is being exercised? Option A is cheat. Option B, adverse possession. Option C, eminent domain. Option D, police power only. The correct answer is option C, eminent domain. Eminent domain is the government's power to take private property for public use with just compensation. Cheat transfers property to the state when no heirs exist, and adverse possession is private acquisition through possession. Police power regulates use but does not by itself describe a compensated taking. Question 8. A buyer includes an inspection condition in a Rochester purchase agreement. What is the role of that contingency? Option A. It automatically transfers title to the buyer. Option B. It eliminates the need for earnest money accounting. Option C. It makes the broker a home inspector. Option D. It makes the buyer's duty to perform depend on the stated inspection condition being satisfied or waived. The correct answer is option D. It makes the buyer's duty to perform depend on the stated inspection condition being satisfied or waived. A contingency is a condition that must be satisfied, waived, or otherwise resolved for the contract obligations to proceed as written. It does not transfer title or remove trust accounting duties. The broker does not become the inspector merely because the contract contains an inspection contingency. Question 9. A broker learns that a foundation defect could significantly affect Taylor Khan's use of a rental house in Maple Grove. What should the broker do? Option A. Disclose the material fact to the prospective purchaser. Option B. Stay silent because the defect might reduce the seller's price. Option C. Disclose only after closing if the buyer complains. Option D. Treat the defect as confidential even if it affects use and enjoyment. The correct answer is option A. Disclose the material fact to the prospective purchaser. Known material facts that could adversely and significantly affect an ordinary buyer's use or enjoyment must be disclosed. Protecting a sale price does not excuse non-disclosure, and waiting until after closing defeats the purpose of the rule. Confidentiality does not cover facts that law requires to be disclosed. Question 10. If Skylar passes the salesperson examination on a spring test date, how long does the candidate generally have to apply for the license before retaking the exam is required? Option A. 30 days from passing the examination. Option B. 1 year from passing the examination. Option C. 3 years from passing the examination. Option D. Until the next broker renewal cycle only. The correct answer is option B. 1 year from passing the examination. Minnesota guidance states that the salesperson license application must be made within 1 year after passing the examination. Shorter periods such as 30 days are too restrictive, and longer periods ignore the retake requirement. The broker renewal cycle does not control the candidate's examination validity period. Question 11. A rental property produces $57,500 in net operating income and investors require a 7.5% capitalization rate. What value is indicated by the income approach? Option A. $201,000. Option B. $305,200. Option C. $766,667. Option D. $39,150. The correct answer is option C. $766,667. The income approach using direct capitalization divides net operating income by the capitalization rate. Gross rent multiplier, loan amount, and frontage calculations use different inputs. The cap rate converts expected net income into an indicated value. Question 12. In a lien theory mortgage state such as Minnesota, what does the mortgage usually give the lender for Avery and Brainerd involving a small retail building priced at $427,500? Option A. Immediate ownership and possession of the property. Option B. A life estate measured by the borrower's life. Option C. A leasehold estate for the loan term. Option D. A lien securing repayment while the borrower retains title. The correct answer is option D, a lien securing repayment while the borrower retains title. In lien theory, the mortgage gives the lender a security lien rather than immediate title and possession. The borrower retains legal title unless foreclosure changes ownership. Life estates and leaseholds are different interests, not the ordinary mortgage relationship. Question 13. During a EGAN license renewal review, which continuing education schedule best matches Minnesota salesperson requirements? Option A, 30 hours before the June 30th renewal deadline, with at least 15 hours completed before the previous June 30th. Option B, 10 hours every 4 years with no annual deadline. Option C, 30 hours only during the first licensing year. Option D, only the required module with no other continuing education. The correct answer is option A, 30 hours before the June 30th renewal deadline, with at least 15 hours completed before the previous June 30th. Minnesota salespersons generally need 30 hours of continuing education before the June 30th renewal deadline, with at least 15 hours due before the previous June 30th. The other options understate the hours, remove the annual structure, or treat the module as the only requirement. Continuing education must be completed in the proper license period. Question 14. A buyer credit on a closing statement for assumed unpaid taxes generally does what for Drew in Bloomington involving a vacant lot priced at $292,000? Option A, increases the seller's loan payoff. Option B, reduces the buyer's cash needed because the buyer will later pay the tax bill. Option C, eliminates title insurance. Option D, creates a new listing agreement. The correct answer is option B, reduces the buyer's cash needed because the buyer will later pay the tax bill. A buyer credit reduces cash due from the buyer when the buyer assumes a future obligation connected to the seller's ownership period. Loan payoff, title insurance, and listing agreements are separate closing or contract issues. Credits and debits must be read from the party's perspective. Question 15. A buyer takes title while the seller's existing loan remains in place, but the buyer does not become personally liable to the lender. What phrase best describes this for Reese in Eden Prairie involving a farm parcel priced at $303,000? Option A, assuming the mortgage with release. Option B, creating a life estate. Option C, taking subject to the mortgage. Option D, recording a quitclaim covenant. The correct answer is option C, taking subject to the mortgage. Taking subject to a mortgage means the property remains security for the debt, but the buyer does not personally promise the lender to pay. Assumption involves personal liability unless otherwise released. Life estates and quitclaim covenants are unrelated to this financing arrangement. Question 16. During negotiations in Moorhead, HarperCon changes the price and closing date in the seller's offer. What is the legal effect of that response? Option A, it is an acceptance because some terms stayed the same. Option B, it creates a lease instead of a purchase contract. Option C, it keeps the original offer open forever. Option D, it is a counteroffer that rejects the original offer and proposes new terms. The correct answer is option D. It is a counteroffer that rejects the original offer and proposes new terms. Changing material terms creates a counteroffer rather than an acceptance. The original offer is rejected unless the offeror renews or accepts the new terms. Keeping some terms unchanged does not preserve the original offer forever or convert the transaction into a lease. Question 17. Which Minnesota tax is generally associated with recording a deed that conveys real property for Reese in Eden Prairie involving a vacant lot priced at $190,000? Option A, state deed tax. Option B, mortgage registry tax only. Option C, utility franchise fee. Option D, federal gift tax return fee. The correct answer is option A, state deed tax. Deed tax is generally associated with recording a deed conveying real property. Mortgage registry tax relates to mortgage debt, while utility franchise and federal gift tax issues are outside the ordinary deed recording charge. The transaction document determines which tax applies. Question 18. At closing, Why are prepaid property taxes or rents commonly prorated between buyer and seller for Parker in Northfield involving a fourplex priced at $456,000? Option A. To change the sales price after acceptance. Option B. To allocate income or expenses to the party who owned the property during the relevant time period. Option C. To avoid recording the deed. Option D. To eliminate the need for title insurance. The correct answer is option B. To allocate income or expenses to the party who owned the property during the relevant time period. Prorations allocate recurring income and expenses based on the period each party is entitled to or responsible for them. They do not rewrite the price, avoid recording, or replace title insurance. Closing statements use debits and credits to make this allocation. Question 19. Unless the party's written agreement says otherwise, when should a Minnesota listing broker deposit earnest money after receiving it and final acceptance has occurred for Parker in Northfield involving a duplex priced at $280,000? Option A. Only after the buyer's loan is fully underwritten. Option B. At any time before the deed is recorded. Option C. Within 3 business days of receipt or final acceptance, whichever is later. Option D. Within 30 calendar days after the first showing. The correct answer is option C. Within 3 business days of receipt or final acceptance, whichever is later. Minnesota trust account rules provide a default deadline of 3 business days after receipt or final acceptance, whichever is later, when the written agreement is silent. Waiting for underwriting, recording, or an arbitrary 30-day period would not meet that default rule. The parties can address timing in their written agreement. Question 20. Which appraisal approach is usually most persuasive for a typical owner-occupied home in a subdivision with many recent comparable sales for Morgan in Maple Grove involving a duplex priced at $251,000? Option A. Cost approach only. Option B. Income approach only. Option C. Front foot method only. Option D. Sales comparison approach. The correct answer is option D. Sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach is usually strongest when similar properties have sold recently in the same market. The cost approach can be useful for new or special purpose improvements, and the income approach is more relevant to income-producing property. Front foot analysis is a land valuation tool, not the main method for a typical home. Question 21. A social media ad for a duplex in Moorhead uses a team name. What must the advertisement clearly and conspicuously display? Option A. The real estate brokerage name. Option B. Only the salesperson's nickname. Option C. Only the property street address. Option D. Only the team logo without the brokerage. The correct answer is option A. The real estate brokerage name. Minnesota advertising rules require the brokerage name to be clearly and conspicuously displayed. A team name may be used only with broker authorization and the brokerage name still must appear. Nicknames, street addresses, and logos do not replace the required brokerage identification. Question 22. A lender offers Skylar Davis a mortgage whose interest rate can change based on an index after an initial period. What type of loan is this? Option A. Package mortgage only. Option B. Adjustable rate mortgage. Option C. Open-end listing. Option D. A graduated lease. The correct answer is option B. Adjustable rate mortgage. An adjustable rate mortgage has an interest rate that may change according to an index and loan terms. A package mortgage includes personal property, an open-end listing is not a standard listing type, and a graduated lease changes rent over time. The index-based interest change identifies the loan type. Question 23. A seller says the basement is perfectly dry despite knowing of repeated water intrusion. Why is that more than ordinary puffing for Casey and Edina involving a lake cabin priced at $229,000? Option A. It is always protected opinion regardless of knowledge. Option B. It is allowed if the buyer gets a loan. Option C. It is a factual misrepresentation about a material property condition. Option D. It becomes legal if stated verbally instead of in writing. The correct answer is option C. It is a factual misrepresentation about a material property condition. A specific false statement about a known material condition can be misrepresentation. Puffing is general opinion, not a false factual claim about water problems. Financing approval or verbal delivery does not make a known material misstatement acceptable. Question 24. A neighbor receives permission to park on Sawyer Lee's land for one weekend only. What interest is most likely created? Option A, easement appurtenant. Option B, fee simple estate. Option C, a mechanic's lien. Option D, license. The correct answer is option D, license. A license is personal permission to use property and is generally revocable. An easement appurtenant is a more durable interest tied to benefited land. Fee simple is ownership, and a mechanic's lien secures payment. Temporary parking permission is a license. Question 25. A property owner dies with no will and no heirs. What government power may transfer the property to the state? Option A is cheat. Option B, eminent domain. Option C, literal rights. Option D, subordination. The correct answer is option A, escheat. Escheat transfers property to the state when an owner dies without a will and without heirs. Eminent domain involves compensated taking, literal rights involve water, and subordination changes lien priority. The absence of heirs is the clue. Question 26. A licensee directs families with children only toward one area of Eden Prairie. What fair housing problem does that conduct create? Option A, amortization. Option B, steering. Option C, subordination. Option D, novation. The correct answer is option B, steering. Steering occurs when a real estate professional guides prospects toward or away from areas based on a protected characteristic. Amortization is loan repayment, subordination is lien priority adjustment, and novation is contract substitution. The conduct described limits housing choice and raises fair housing risk. Question 27. Under the Minnesota Human Rights Act, which protected basis expands beyond the traditional federal fair housing list for Jordan and Bemidji involving a condominium unit priced at $291,000? Option A, preference for a short commute. Option B, owning two vehicles. Option C, status with regard to public assistance. Option D, having a fixed-rate mortgage. The correct answer is option C, status with regard to public assistance. Minnesota housing and real property discrimination law includes status with regard to public assistance among protected bases. Commute preference, vehicle ownership, and mortgage type are not protected classes. State law can add protections beyond the federal baseline. Question 28. Under Chapter 82 standards, what must a broker do to properly supervise salespersons at a Bloomington office? Option A. Let each salesperson approve their own contracts without broker review. Option B. Delegate all trust records to buyers and sellers. Option C. Supervise only advertising and ignore purchase agreements. Option D. Monitor brokerage activities, review transaction documents, and review trust account books and records. The correct answer is option D. Monitor brokerage activities, review transaction documents, and review trust account books and records. Broker supervision includes ongoing monitoring of salespersons, transaction documents, and trust account records. Salespersons do not self-supervise, and clients are not responsible for brokerage trust accounting. Limiting supervision to advertising would miss major broker responsibilities. Question 29. An appraiser subtracts curable physical deterioration and functional obsolescence from replacement cost. Which approach is being used for Quinn and Red Wing involving a lake cabin priced at $455,500? Option A, cost approach. Option B, sales comparison approach only. Option C, income approach only. Option D, gross rent multiplier only. The correct answer is option A, cost approach. The cost approach estimates land value plus improvement cost minus depreciation. Sales comparison relies on comparable sales, and income analysis capitalizes income. Depreciation from replacement cost is the clue. Question 30. Which Minnesota tax is generally associated with recording a mortgage that secures debt on real property for Jordan in Bemidji involving a vacant lot priced at $396,500? Option A, personal income withholding tax. Option B, mortgage registry tax. Option C, sales tax on furniture. Option D, special assessment appeal fee. The correct answer is option B, mortgage registry tax. Mortgage registry tax is tied to the recording of a mortgage securing debt. Personal income withholding, furniture sales tax, and assessment appeals are different issues. The exam often distinguishes mortgage registry tax from deed tax. Question 31. A city special assessment for a new sidewalk appears on a property record. What kind of charge is it most like for Finley in Woodbury involving a lake cabin priced at $347,500? Option A, a private broker commission split. Option B, a personal credit card debt. Option C, a charge against benefited property for a public improvement. Option D, a title insurance premium refund. The correct answer is option C, a charge against benefited property for a public improvement. A special assessment is commonly charged against properties that benefit from a public improvement. It is not a broker split, personal consumer debt, or title insurance refund. Assessments can affect closing and ownership costs. Question 32. Which deed gives Harper Nolan the broadest set of title warranties from the grantor? Option A, quitclaim deed. Option B, bargain and sale deed with no covenants. Option C, tax certificate only. Option D, general warranty deed. The correct answer is option D, general warranty deed. A general warranty deed provides the strongest customary covenants of title from the grantor. A quitclaim deed conveys whatever interest the grantor has without warranties. A bargain and sale deed without covenants and a tax certificate provide less assurance than a general warranty deed. Question 33. When Cameron, a licensee, intends to buy a client's property in Blaine, what disclosure is required before negotiation or consummation? Option A. The licensee must affirmatively disclose the license status and the capacity in which the licensee is acting. Option B. The licensee may stay silent if paying full market value. Option C. The disclosure is needed only after the deed is recorded. Option D. Only the buyer's lender must be told about the license. The correct answer is option A. The licensee must affirmatively disclose the license status and the capacity in which the licensee is acting. A Minnesota licensee who acquires or intends to acquire an interest in real property must disclose the license status and capacity before negotiation or consummation. Paying market value does not remove the conflict risk, and post-recording disclosure would be too late. Lender-only notice does not satisfy disclosure to the property owner. Question 34. A parcel borders a non-navigable stream. Rights connected to that water are commonly called what for Rowan in Duluth involving a vacant lot priced at $443,500? Option A, literal rights only. Option B, riparian rights. Option C, emblement rights. Option D is subrogation rights. The correct answer is option B, riparian rights. Riparian rights relate to land adjoining rivers or streams. Literal rights are associated with lakes and other large bodies of water, while emblements and subrogation are different concepts. Water-adjacent property rights are common ownership questions. Question 35. Why might Cameron Gwynn use a quitclaim deed to clear a possible title issue? Option A. It guarantees the property is free of every lien. Option B. It creates a new mortgage automatically. Option C. It transfers whatever interest the grantor may have without making title warranties. Option D. It replaces the need for delivery and acceptance. The correct answer is option C. It transfers whatever interest the grantor may have without making title warranties. A quitclaim deed can release or transfer any interest the grantor may have, but it does not warrant title quality. It does not guarantee lien-free ownership or create a mortgage. Like other deeds, it still depends on proper execution, delivery, and acceptance. Question 36. A zoning board permits a property use that otherwise violates strict zoning because of unique hardship. What relief is typically granted? Option A, certificate of title. Option B, quitclaim covenant. Option C, mortgage assumption. Option D, variance. The correct answer is option D, variance. A variance provides relief from strict zoning requirements when legal standards are met, often involving unique hardship. Certificates of title, quitclaim deeds, and mortgage assumptions do not authorize zoning deviations. Land use approval is the issue. Question 37. A salesperson discovers an error in an advertisement after publication. What is the most professional next step? Option A, promptly correct the advertisement and notify the broker according to office procedures. Option B, ignore it because errors in ads never matter. Option C, blame the buyer publicly. Option D, delete all transaction records. The correct answer is option A. Promptly correct the advertisement and notify the broker according to office procedures. Advertising must be accurate and compliant, so prompt correction and broker notification are appropriate. Ignoring errors, blaming clients, or deleting records creates greater compliance risk. Professional practice requires correction and documentation. Question 38. At the end of a Minnesota tenancy, what must a landlord generally do with the tenant's security deposit after receiving a forwarding address for Hayden and Street Paul involving a fourplex priced at $252,500? Option A, keep the entire deposit automatically as a cleaning fee. Option B, return the deposit plus interest or provide a written explanation of lawful deductions within the required time. Option C, apply the deposit to the broker's commission. Option D, record the deposit with the county as a deed restriction. The correct answer is option B. Return the deposit plus interest or provide a written explanation of lawful deductions within the required time. Minnesota law requires the landlord to return the deposit with interest or provide a written explanation for lawful deductions within the required period. Automatic forfeiture, commission payment, and county deed restrictions do not match the security deposit rules. Security deposits remain tenant funds unless a lawful deduction applies. Question 39. Under Minnesota law, which statute is the primary source for real estate broker and salesperson regulation for Cameron and Rochester involving a small retail building priced at $463,500? Option A, Minnesota Statutes Chapter 287 only. Option B, the Federal Internal Revenue Code only. Option C, Minnesota Statutes Chapter 82. Option D, a local MLS policy manual only. The correct answer is option C, Minnesota Statutes Chapter 82. Chapter 82 governs real estate brokers and salespersons in Minnesota. Chapter 287 covers deed tax and mortgage registry tax topics, and federal tax law or MLS policies do not replace state licensing law. Exam questions often test which authority controls licensing conduct. Question 40. A licensee in Brainerd wants to know which required continuing education topics must be included in the renewal cycle along with the general module. Option A, only appraisal theory and mortgage underwriting. Option B, only property insurance and income tax preparation. Option C, only construction codes and zoning administration. Option D, agency law and fair housing. The correct answer is option D, agency law and fair housing. Minnesota renewal requirements include agency representation and disclosure training and fair housing training as part of the required education mix. Appraisal, insurance, tax, construction, and zoning topics may be useful, but they do not replace those mandated topics. The rule is designed to keep licensees current on representation and anti-discrimination duties. Question 41. If a seller rejects Quinn Nguyen's offer and the listing broker holds the earnest money, when should the rejected offer's earnest money be returned? Option A, no later than the next business day after rejection. Option B, only after the seller signs a different purchase agreement. Option C, at the end of the listing period. Option D, after the broker deducts marketing expenses. The correct answer is option A, no later than the next business day after rejection. When an offer is rejected, Minnesota trust account rules require earnest money to be returned to the potential buyer no later than the next business day after rejection. The broker cannot hold it until another sale, listing expiration, or reimbursement of marketing costs. Rejected offers do not create a right to keep the buyer's funds. Question 42. A rumor says a Egan home was once the site of a natural death and possible paranormal activity. Under Minnesota disclosure rules, how is that fact treated? Option A. It must always be disclosed in the listing contract. Option B. It is not treated as a material fact that must be disclosed merely for that reason. Option C. It makes the property unmarketable until court approval. Option D. It requires the buyer to receive a separate environmental report. The correct answer is option B. It is not treated as a material fact that must be disclosed merely for that reason. Minnesota law states that certain stigmatizing facts, such as suicide, natural death, or perceived paranormal activity, are not material facts requiring disclosure merely because they occurred. That does not change the duty to disclose physical defects or other material facts. Listing contracts, court approval, and environmental reports address different issues. Question 43. A utility company has the right to run power lines across Eden Prairie parcel. Which property right is usually involved? Option A. Estate for years. Option B. Divulsion. Option C. Easement in gross. Option D. A remainder interest. The correct answer is option C. Easement in gross. A utility easement often benefits a company rather than a neighboring parcel, making it an easement in gross. An estate for years is a leasehold, a avulsion is sudden land change, and a remainder follows a life estate. The utilities right is a non-possessory use right. Question 44. Which event usually allows trust funds in a Minnesota real estate transaction to be disbursed for Skylar in St. Cloud involving a fourplex priced at $379,000? Option A. A verbal request from one salesperson. Option B. A social media announcement that the deal is done. Option C. The buyers hope to renegotiate after closing. Option D. Closing of the transaction, written agreement of the parties, statutory affidavit, or court order. The correct answer is option D. Closing of the transaction, written agreement of the parties, statutory affidavit, or court order. Trust funds may be disbursed only under recognized authority such as closing, written agreement, applicable statutory affidavit, or court order. A verbal request or social media post does not provide the necessary authority. A buyer's later wish to renegotiate is not a trust fund disbursement event. Question 45. At closing, a seller debit for unpaid property taxes usually means what for Quinn and Red Wing involving a single-family home priced at $300,000? Option A. The seller is being charged for the portion owed for the seller's period of ownership. Option B. The buyer is paying the seller's commission twice. Option C. The lender has forgiven the loan. Option D. The deed has failed to convey title. The correct answer is option A. The seller is being charged for the portion owed for the seller's period of ownership. A seller debit reduces the seller's proceeds for an amount the seller owes, such as the seller's share of property taxes. It does not double a commission, forgive a loan, or prove the deed failed. Debits and credits allocate amounts between the parties. Question 46. A broker refuses to show listings unless a buyer also uses the broker's mortgage affiliate. What antitrust concept could be implicated? Option A. Accretion. Option B. Tie-in arrangement. Option C. Estoppel. Option D. Substitution principle. The correct answer is option B. Tie-in arrangement. A tie-in arrangement conditions one service on the purchase of another service and can raise antitrust concerns. Accretion, estoppel, and substitution are property or valuation concepts. Consumers should not be unlawfully forced into affiliated services. Question 47. A loan payment schedule gradually reduces principal until the loan balance reaches zero. What financing term describes this for Casey and Edina involving a mixed-use property priced at $332,500? Option A. Accretion. Option B. Subordination. Option C. Amortization. Option D. Discheat. The correct answer is option C, amortization. Amortization is repayment of a debt through payments that reduce principal over time. Accretion is natural land buildup, subordination changes lien priority, and escheat transfers property to the state when no heirs exist. The decreasing loan balance is the clue. Question 48. A legal description refers to township, range, and section. Which survey system is being used for Casey in Edina involving a lake cabin priced at $263,500? Option A, meets and bounds only. Option B, lot and block only. Option C, the gross lease system. Option D, rectangular government survey system. The correct answer is option D, rectangular government survey system. The rectangular government survey system uses townships, ranges, and sections. Meets and bounds relies on boundary calls, and lot and block relies on subdivision plats. Gross lease is a lease structure, not a land description system. Question 49. Regarding commission language in a Minnesota listing agreement, which statement best reflects the required consumer notice for Rowan in Duluth involving a condominium unit priced at $419,500? Option A, compensation is determined between each individual broker and the broker's client. Option B, the state sets one mandatory commission rate for all residential listings. Option C, the MLS sets the minimum commission for every listing. Option D, the buyer must always pay the listing broker directly. The correct answer is option A. Compensation is determined between each individual broker and the broker's client. Minnesota listing agreements must include a notice that compensation is determined between the broker and the broker's client. The state and MLS do not set a universal commission rate for every transaction. Payment arrangements depend on the agreement and cannot be assumed from the listing alone. Question 50. When Hayden Davis buys a condominium unit in Rochester, what does the buyer typically own? Option A, only a stock certificate and no real property interest. Option B, the individual unit plus an undivided interest in the common elements. Option C, the entire building in severalty. Option D, a temporary license to occupy the unit. The correct answer is option B, the individual unit plus an undivided interest in the common elements. Condominium ownership generally includes the individual unit and an undivided interest in common elements. A cooperative usually involves shares and a proprietary lease, not condominium ownership. The buyer does not own the whole building alone or merely hold a temporary license. Question 51. A sudden flood removes soil from a riverbank in Carver County. What term describes the sudden loss? Option A, accretion. Option B, assemblage. Option C, divulsion. Option D, plottage. The correct answer is option C, avulsion. Avulsion is sudden loss or change of land by natural forces. Accretion is gradual buildup, assemblage combines parcels, and plottage is the value increase from assemblage. The word sudden distinguishes avulsion. Question 52. What is the main purpose of an owner's title insurance policy for Jordan Anderson? Option A, to insure the roof against storm damage. Option B, to guarantee future market appreciation. Option C, to replace the need for a purchase agreement. Option D, to protect against covered title defects that existed before the policy date. The correct answer is option D, to protect against covered title defects that existed before the policy date. Owner's title insurance protects against covered past title defects, liens, or ownership issues discovered after closing. It is not property casualty insurance, an appreciation guarantee, or a substitute for the purchase contract. Title insurance focuses on ownership risk, not physical damage or investment performance. Question 53. For Cameron Kahn's first real estate job in St. Cloud, who submits the Minnesota salesperson license application after the applicant becomes associated with a broker? Option A, the licensed real estate broker with whom the applicant is associated. Option B, the applicant directly through a personal account only. Option C, the listing client from the applicant's first transaction. Option D, the county recorder in the county where the applicant lives. The correct answer is option A, the licensed real estate broker with whom the applicant is associated. A Minnesota salesperson must be associated with a licensed broker, and the broker submits the license application. The applicant alone does not file the salesperson application, clients have no filing role, and county recorders do not issue salesperson licenses. Broker sponsorship is central to salesperson licensure. Question 54. A buyer brings certified funds for price, closing costs, and prepaid items after lender credits are applied. What is this amount commonly called for Harper and Egan involving a newly built townhouse priced at $205,000? Option A, gross rent multiplier. Option B, cash to close. Option C, functional obsolescence. Option D, protective list. The correct answer is option B, cash to close. Cash to close is the amount the buyer must bring to complete the transaction after credits, loan proceeds, and closing charges are calculated. GRM is an appraisal shortcut, functional obsolescence is depreciation, and a protective list relates to override clauses. The question is about closing settlement funds. Question 55. A $356,000 sale carries a 6.2% commission. What is the total commission before any split? Option A, $71,200. Option B, $8,544. Option C, $22,250. Option D, $6,764. The correct answer is option C, $22,250. Total commission is found by multiplying the sale price by the commission rate. Down payment, discount points, and property tax calculations use different bases. The phrase before any split means the full brokerage commission is calculated first. Question 56. If Drew Patel pays interest only for the first month on a $219,600 loan at 6.8%, approximately what is 1 month's interest? Option A, $6,588. Option B, $750. Option C, $11,200. Option D, $1,235. The correct answer is option D, $1,235. Monthly interest is calculated by multiplying the loan balance by the annual rate and dividing by 12. Points, tax proration, and front foot value use different formulas and bases. Interest calculations test careful conversion from annual to monthly rates. Question 57. A legal description identifies a lot and block in a recorded subdivision plat. Which description method is used for Emerson in Minneapolis involving a single-family home priced at $230,500? Option A, lot and block. Option B, rectangular survey only. Option C, a monumentless description. Option D, a front foot appraisal. The correct answer is option A, lot and block. Lot and block descriptions rely on a recorded subdivision plat. Rectangular survey uses sections, townships, and ranges, while front foot appraisal values frontage. The presence of a recorded plat points to lot and block. Question 58. A buyer pays 1% in discount points on a $266,900 loan. Approximately how much are the points? Option A, $1,223. Option B, $2,669. Option C, $47,100. Option D, $17,270. The correct answer is option B, $2,669. One discount point equals 1% of the loan amount, so the points are calculated by multiplying the loan amount by the point percentage. Monthly interest, down payment, and commission are calculated from different formulas. The point charge is a loan cost calculation, not a sales commission or equity contribution. Question 59. If Quinn Garcia tells the licensee that the seller will not perform under the signed purchase agreement, what must the licensee do? Option A, keep the information confidential until the closing date. Option B, cancel the agreement without telling the buyer. Option C, immediately disclose the stated intent not to perform to the other party or parties. Option D, disclose only if the seller misses a loan contingency. The correct answer is option C. Immediately disclose the stated intent not to perform to the other party or parties. A licensee put on notice that a party will not perform according to the transaction agreement must disclose that intent to the other party or parties. Keeping the information secret would mislead the other side. The rule is different from a party's inability to satisfy a contingency. Question 60. A zoning ordinance limits building height in Winona. What government power is most directly involved? Option A, eminent domain. Option B, this cheat. Option C, taxation only. Option D, police power. The correct answer is option D, police power. Police power allows government to regulate property use for health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Eminent domain is taking for public use, cheat handles ownerless property, and taxation raises revenue. Zoning is a classic police power regulation. Question 61. Which ownership estate gives Finley Ngwin the greatest bundle of rights with no stated end date or condition? Option A, fee simple absolute. Option B, estate at sufferance. Option C, life estate. Option D, license. The correct answer is option A, fee simple absolute. Fee simple absolute is the broadest ownership estate and can continue indefinitely. A life estate ends with a measuring life, an estate at sufferance arises from holdover possession, and a license is permission rather than an estate. The key phrase is ownership without a stated end date or condition. Question 62. A deed expressly creates survivorship between co-owners of a vacant lot. Which ownership feature is being emphasized? Option A, no right to possess the property. Option B, right of survivorship in joint tenancy. Option C, a tenant's trade fixture right. Option D, a mortgagee's foreclosure priority. The correct answer is option B, right of survivorship in joint tenancy. Joint tenancy is associated with right of survivorship when properly created. Co-owners generally have possession rights, and trade fixtures concern tenants rather than co-owner succession. Mortgage priority is a lien issue, not survivorship ownership. Question 63. A lender draws a line around a Ramsey neighborhood and refuses otherwise qualified mortgage applicants there. What fair housing and lending term best fits? Option A, plottage. Option B, accretion. Option C, redlining. Option D, estoppel. The correct answer is option C, redlining. Redlining is denying or limiting credit in an area for discriminatory reasons rather than evaluating individual qualifications. Plottage relates to value from assemblage, accretion is natural land buildup, and estoppel prevents inconsistent claims. Area-based discriminatory lending violates fair lending principles. Question 64. After passing the examination, Blair wants to submit a Minnesota salesperson license application immediately. Which education requirement still must be met before applying? Option A, only course I is ever required for the license. Option B, a broker's 30-hour course must replace course 3. Option C, no additional education is needed once the exam is passed. Option D, courses 2 and 3 must be successfully completed if they have not already been completed. The correct answer is option D. Courses 2 and 3 must be successfully completed if they have not already been completed. Course I opens exam eligibility, but courses 2 and 3 must be completed before the salesperson license application. Passing the exam does not erase the remaining pre-license education requirement. The other options either omit required courses or invent a broker-only replacement course. Question 65. An advertisement says a townhome is available only for adults with no children. What is the main fair housing concern? Option A. The statement indicates a preference or limitation based on familial status. Option B. The ad forgot to mention the roof age. Option C. The ad uses a list price instead of an appraised value. Option D. The ad includes the city name. The correct answer is option A. The statement indicates a preference or limitation based on familial status. Advertising cannot indicate a discriminatory preference or limitation based on familial status except where a valid housing for older persons exemption applies. Roof age, list price, and city name are not the fair housing issue in the wording. The problem is discouraging families with children. Question 66. A Minneapolis parcel contains 3 acres. How many square feet are in the parcel? Option A, $10,400. Option B, $130,680. Option C, $243,000. Option D, $4,131. The correct answer is option B, 130,680. 1 acre contains 43,560 square feet, so acreage is converted by multiplying acres by 43,560. Frontage value, loan amount, and tax amount are calculated from different data. Unit conversion is a common real estate math task. Question 67. A facilitator working with Riley in Bemidji performs services without representing either side. Which fiduciary duty generally remains unless expanded by written agreement? Option A, loyalty to the seller only. Option B, obedience to the buyer's investment goals. Option C, confidentiality. Option D, advocacy for the party paying the commission. The correct answer is option C, confidentiality. A facilitator does not act in a fiduciary capacity as a buyer's broker, seller's broker, or dual agent, but confidentiality remains a duty unless the relationship is expanded by written agreement. Loyalty, obedience, and advocacy belong to agency representation, not ordinary facilitator status. Commission payment does not create fiduciary representation by itself. Question 68. A deed is signed by the grantor but never delivered to Skylar Garcia. Why is delivery important? Option A, delivery sets the mortgage interest rate. Option B, delivery replaces legal description requirements. Option C, delivery creates a leasehold only. Option D, delivery shows the grantor's intent that the deed take effect. The correct answer is option D. Delivery shows the grantor's intent that the deed take effect. A deed must be delivered and accepted to operate as a conveyance. Delivery reflects the grantor's intent that the instrument take effect. It does not set loan terms, replace the legal description, or create only a leasehold. Question 69. In Northfield, a new applicant asks which combination best describes the salesperson licensing path in Minnesota. Option A. Be at least 18, complete courses 1, 2, and 3, pass the exam, associate with a broker, and receive Commerce Department approval. Option B. Be at least 21, complete only course I, and work independently after passing the exam. Option C. Complete continuing education before any pre-license education and apply directly without a broker. Option D. Pass only the national exam and begin practicing while the application is pending. The correct answer is option A. Be at least 18, complete courses 1, 2, and 3, pass the exam, associate with a broker, and receive Commerce Department approval. Minnesota salesperson licensing requires age eligibility, 3 30-hour pre-license courses, examination success, broker association, and approval by the Commerce Department. The other choices either remove required courses, allow independent practice, or treat a pending application as authority to act. Those alternatives do not satisfy the licensing sequence. Question 70. An appraiser adjusts comparable sales for differences from the subject property. Which approach is being applied for Reese in Eden Prairie involving a farm parcel priced at $214,500? Option A, cost approach only. Option B, sales comparison approach. Option C, income approach only. Option D, mortgage registry method. The correct answer is option B, sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach compares the subject to similar sold properties and adjusts for differences. Cost and income approaches use different inputs, and mortgage registry tax is not an appraisal method. Comparable sale adjustment is a core valuation technique. Question 71. A lender requires private mortgage insurance because Casey Peterson's conventional loan has a high loan-to-value ratio. What does PMI primarily protect? Option A. The buyer against title defects. Option B. The seller against market depreciation. Option C. The lender against part of the risk of borrower default. Option D. The appraiser against negligence claims. The correct answer is option C, the lender against part of the risk of borrower default. Private mortgage insurance protects the lender when a conventional loan has higher default risk due to low borrower equity. It does not protect the buyer's title, guarantee the seller's price, or insure an appraiser's liability. Borrowers often pay for PMI, but the lender is the protected party. Question 72. If annual property taxes of $5,400 are prorated to the seller for 121 days on a 365-day basis, approximately what amount is charged to the seller? Option A, $25,285. Option B, $5,446. Option C, $1,418. Option D, $1,790. The correct answer is option D, $1,790. Tax proration divides the annual tax by 365 and multiplies by the number of seller days. Commission, discount points, and monthly interest are unrelated calculations. Proration allocates an annual expense fairly between buyer and seller at closing. Question 73. If a Minneapolis property sells for $367,500 and the buyer obtains a 90% loan, what is the buyer's down payment? Option A, $36,750. Option B, $330,750. Option C, $22,050. Option D, $2,158. The correct answer is option A, $36,750. The down payment is the sale price minus the loan amount. The loan amount is the financed portion, the commission is a brokerage compensation calculation, and the tax proration allocates property taxes. Separating buyer equity from loan proceeds is a core exam math skill. Question 74. While interviewing with two firms in Eagan, Taylor asks how many Minnesota brokers may supervise the salesperson during the same period? Option A, 2 brokers if both brokers consent. Option B, 1 actively licensed broker. Option C, any number of brokers if the salesperson discloses the arrangement. Option D, 1 broker for residential sales and a separate broker for leases. The correct answer is option B, 1 actively licensed broker. A salesperson in Minnesota is licensed to act on behalf of 1 broker during the same period. Consent or disclosure does not create authority to work under multiple brokers. Splitting residential and leasing work between brokers would still violate the Single Broker Association rule. Question 75. Under federal fair housing law, which group is a protected class in the sale or rental of housing for Parker in Northfield involving a duplex priced at $247,500? Option A, credit score above 700. Option B, preference for lakefront homes. Option C, familial status. Option D, employment in real estate sales. The correct answer is option C, familial status. Familial status is a protected class under federal fair housing law. Credit score, housing preferences, and occupation in real estate are not protected classes by themselves. Housing decisions must avoid discrimination based on protected characteristics. Question 76. A title search finds an unpaid mechanics lien recorded against a Maple Grove property. Why does this matter to a buyer? Option A, it proves the buyer has already paid cash. Option B, it automatically creates a condominium. Option C, it removes all property taxes. Option D, it may be an encumbrance affecting title and closing requirements. The correct answer is option D. It may be an encumbrance affecting title and closing requirements. A mechanics lien can encumber title and may need to be resolved before or at closing. It does not prove cash payment, create condominium ownership, or remove tax obligations. Title review identifies recorded claims that may affect ownership. Question 77. Why would an appraiser rely heavily on the cost approach for a newly built fourplex in Moorhead? Option A, replacement cost and depreciation can be estimated more reliably for new improvements. Option B, it ignores land value completely. Option C, it is the only legal method for all residential property. Option D. It values the property only by monthly rent. The correct answer is option A. Replacement cost and depreciation can be estimated more reliably for new improvements. The cost approach is useful for new construction because replacement cost and accrued depreciation can be estimated with less uncertainty. It still includes land value and is not the only legal method for every property. Monthly rent belongs to income analysis rather than cost analysis. Question 78. A property use existed legally before a zoning change and may continue despite the new rule. What is it called? Option A. Blockbusting. Option B. Legal nonconforming use. Option C. Estoppel certificate. Option D. Defeasible fee only. The correct answer is option B. Legal nonconforming use. A legal nonconforming use lawfully existed before a zoning change and is often allowed to continue under limits. Blockbusting is a fair housing violation, estoppel certificates relate to leases or representations, and defeasible fee is an ownership estate. The timing before the zoning change is key. Question 79. A licensee exaggerates by saying a backyard view is the best sunset in Minnesota. How is that usually classified? Option A. A guaranteed appraisal. Option B. A material title defect. Option C. Puffing if it is clearly opinion rather than a factual claim. Option D. A deed restriction. The correct answer is option C. Puffing if it is clearly opinion rather than a factual claim. Puffing is an opinion or sales statement that a reasonable person would not treat as a factual guarantee. It differs from misrepresenting a known defect or title issue. The sunset statement is subjective unless tied to a specific false fact. Question 80. A broker compares a buyer's desired use with zoning rules, parcel size, and market demand. What appraisal principle is being considered for Quinn and Red Wing involving a lake cabin priced at $437,500? Option A. Tie-in arrangement. Option B. Novation. Option C. Steering. Option D. Highest and best use. The correct answer is option D. Highest and best use. Highest and best use evaluates legal permissibility, physical possibility, financial feasibility, and maximum productivity. Tie-in arrangements, novation, and steering involve antitrust, contract substitution, and fair housing concerns. The analysis is about the most supportable property use. Question 81. Why is the Minnesota agency disclosure form given to Sawyer Lee not enough by itself to create representation? Option A. It is a disclosure only, and representation requires a written listing contract or buyer representation contract. Option B. It automatically creates dual agency for every transaction. Option C. It replaces all purchase agreement requirements. Option D. It gives the consumer a license to sell property. The correct answer is option A. It is a disclosure only, and representation requires a written listing contract or buyer representation contract. The agency disclosure form informs consumers about relationship options but does not create representation. Representation requires a written contract such as a listing agreement or buyer representation contract. The other choices confuse disclosure with dual agency, purchase contracts, or licensing authority. Question 82. Under Minnesota licensing rules, what happens when a salesperson's association with an actively licensed broker ends for Emerson in Minneapolis involving a mixed-use property priced at $465,000? Option A. The salesperson may continue independently for 90 days. Option B. The salesperson's license becomes inactive until proper association is restored. Option C. The salesperson automatically becomes a limited broker. Option D. The salesperson may transfer clients without broker supervision. The correct answer is option B. The salesperson's license becomes inactive until proper association is restored. A salesperson license depends on active association with a licensed broker. Ending that association makes the license inactive, so independent practice is not allowed. Automatic broker status and unsupervised client transfers are not part of the salesperson licensing structure. Question 83. Two investors own a Stillwater duplex with unequal shares and no survivorship language. Which ownership form is most likely? Option A, tenancy by the entirety. Option B, severalty. Option C, tenancy in common. Option D, life tenancy only. The correct answer is option C, tenancy in common. Tenancy in common allows unequal ownership shares and has no automatic right of survivorship. Severalty means one owner, and a life tenancy is measured by a life. Tenancy by the entirety is a special marital form not described by unequal investor shares. Question 84. A borrower signs a promissory note and mortgage to finance a Bloomington home. What does the note do? Option A, transfers title to the lender at closing. Option B, sets the zoning classification. Option C, records the deed tax payment. Option D, creates the borrower's personal promise to repay the debt. The correct answer is option D, creates the borrower's personal promise to repay the debt. The promissory note is the borrower's promise to repay according to the loan terms. The mortgage secures that promise with a lien on the property. Zoning, title transfer, and deed tax are separate matters. Question 85. If one broker represents both Quinn Nolan and Blair Rivera in a residential transaction, what must occur before the broker acts as a dual agent? Option A. All parties must give informed consent to the dual agency relationship. Option B. Only the seller must consent because the seller listed the property. Option C. The broker may proceed without consent if the commission is reduced. Option D. Consent is unnecessary if two different salespersons are involved. The correct answer is option A. All parties must give informed consent to the dual agency relationship. Dual agency requires informed consent from the parties because the broker owes duties to both sides and cannot advocate exclusively for either one. A lower commission does not remove the conflict, and two salespersons licensed to the same broker can still create dual agency. Seller-only consent is not enough. Question 86. A landlord in Bloomington deducts from a security deposit for unpaid rent and damage beyond ordinary wear and tear. What makes those deductions more defensible? Option A. They are based only on the landlord's dislike of the tenant. Option B. They are tied to permitted reasons and supported by a written explanation. Option C. They include normal fading of paint from ordinary use. Option D. They are taken without notice because deposits are always non-refundable. The correct answer is option B. They are tied to permitted reasons and supported by a written explanation. Minnesota security deposit deductions are generally tied to unpaid obligations or damage beyond ordinary wear and tear, with a written explanation when money is withheld. Personal dislike, normal wear, and treating every deposit as non-refundable are not defensible bases. Documentation is essential in landlord-tenant accounting. Question 87. A parcel borders a lake near Stillwater. Rights associated with use of the lake shore are commonly called what? Option A. Riparian rights only. Option B. Fixture rights. Option C. Literal rights. Option D. Novation rights. The correct answer is option C. Literal rights. Literal rights generally relate to property bordering lakes, seas, or oceans. Riparian rights involve rivers and streams. Fixtures concern attached property, and novation is contract substitution. The lakefront fact drives the answer. Question 88. A garage built on Riley Patel's land extends 2 feet over the boundary onto a neighbor's parcel. What issue is created? Option A. Hypothecation. Option B. Subrogation. Option C. Reconciliation. Option D. Encroachment. The correct answer is option D. Encroachment. An encroachment occurs when an improvement physically intrudes onto another parcel. Hypothecation pledges property for debt, subrogation substitutes one party's claim, and reconciliation is an appraisal conclusion step. The garage crossing the boundary is the key fact. Question 89. Which document is used to convey ownership of real property from grantor to grantee? Option A. Deed. Option B. Promissory note. Option C. Listing presentation. Option D. Home inspection checklist. The correct answer is option A. Deed. A deed is the instrument used to convey title from grantor to grantee. A promissory note creates a debt promise, a listing presentation markets services, and an inspection checklist reports property condition. Conveyance and financing documents have different functions. Question 90. Gradual soil buildup along a stream increases a parcel's size. What term best fits? Option A, avulsion. Option B, accretion. Option C, condemnation. Option D, defeasance. The correct answer is option B, accretion. Accretion is gradual addition of land through natural forces. Avulsion is sudden change, condemnation is taking by eminent domain, and defeasance concerns loan satisfaction. Gradual buildup is the key clue. Question 91. A broker tells competing firms to keep commissions at the same percentage in Bloomington. What legal risk is most obvious? Option A, accretion. Option B, constructive eviction. Option C, price fixing under antitrust law. Option D, of functional obsolescence. The correct answer is option C, price fixing under antitrust law. Competitors agreeing on commission rates can be price fixing, an antitrust violation. Accretion, constructive eviction, and functional obsolescence involve land change, landlord-tenant issues, and valuation. Commissions must be independently negotiated, not fixed by competitors. Question 92. Before Schuyler schedules the salesperson examination after studying in St. Paul, which pre-license course must already be completed? Option A, Course 2 only. Option B, Course 3 only. Option C, the annual continuing education module. Option D, Course I. The correct answer is option D, Course I. Course I must be successfully completed before a candidate registers for the salesperson examination. Course 2 and Course 3 are required before license application, while the annual module is a continuing education requirement for licensees. Confusing pre-license and continuing education rules leads to the wrong result. Question 93. A lot has 220 front feet worth $140 per front foot. What is the indicated front foot value? Option A, $30,800. Option B, $2,440. Option C, $30,810. Option D, $475,000. The correct answer is option A, $30,800. Front foot valuation multiplies frontage by the price per front foot. Tax prioration, commission, and income capitalization rely on other formulas. The question asks only for the land value indicated by frontage. Question 94. A property loses value because its floor plan is outdated compared with modern buyer expectations. What type of depreciation is most likely for Cameron in Rochester involving a newly built townhouse priced at $312,500? Option A, accretion. Option B, of functional obsolescence. Option C, economic rent. Option D, constructive notice. The correct answer is option B, functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence is loss in value from outdated design, layout, or utility within the property. Accretion is land buildup, economic rent is market rent, and constructive notice comes from public records. The problem is the property's function. Question 95. During a first substantive contact with a residential consumer in Stillwater, what disclosure should the licensee provide? Option A, a final closing disclosure showing loan terms. Option B, a county tax statement for the current year. Option C, an agency disclosure form explaining available agency and facilitator relationships. Option D, a deed prepared for recording. The correct answer is option C, an agency disclosure form explaining available agency and facilitator relationships. Minnesota requires an agency disclosure form at the first substantive contact in residential transactions covered by the statute. The form explains representation choices and facilitator status before the consumer decides whether to enter a representation contract. Closing disclosures, tax statements, and deeds serve different functions later in the transaction. Question 96. A restaurant tenant installs removable ovens for the tenant's business. What are those items often called? Option A, riparian rights. Option B, deed restrictions. Option C, remainders. Option D, trade fixtures. The correct answer is option D, trade fixtures. Trade fixtures are business-related items installed by a tenant and usually removable if removed timely and damage is repaired. Riparian rights concern water, deed restrictions limit property use, and remainders are future interests. The tenant's business equipment points to trade fixtures. Question 97. If an override clause appears in Sawyer Okafor's listing agreement, what must the licensee provide within 72 hours after the listing expires for the clause to be effective? Option A, a protective list. Option B, a new deed. Option C, a county tax appeal. Option D, a mortgage payoff statement. The correct answer is option A, a protective list. An override clause is tied to a protective list supplied within the required time after expiration. A deed, tax appeal, or payoff statement does not preserve the broker's override rights. The protective list identifies prospects covered by the clause. Question 98. A homestead classification question appears on a Minnesota practice exam. What topic is being tested most directly for Quinn and Red Wing involving a single-family home priced at $387,000? Option A, federal lead paint pamphlet rules only. Option B, property tax and ownership status treatment. Option C, advertising font size only. Option D, dual agency consent wording only. The correct answer is option B, property tax and ownership status treatment. Homestead classification generally relates to property tax and ownership or occupancy status. Lead paint, advertising, and dual agency are separate real estate topics. Exam questions may connect homestead status with tax treatment and ownership rights. Question 99. Before advertising Reese-Conn's mixed-use property to the general public, what must a Minnesota licensee obtain? Option A, an oral promise that the owner may list later. Option B, a buyer's pre-approval letter. Option C, a signed listing agreement or other signed written authorization from the owner or authorized person. Option D, a tax parcel map from the county. The correct answer is option C, a signed listing agreement or other signed written authorization from the owner or authorized person. A licensee must have a signed listing agreement or other signed written authorization before advertising real property for sale or lease to the general public. Oral permission is not enough for this requirement. Buyer pre-approval and tax maps may be useful, but they do not authorize public advertising. Question 100. A legal description begins at a point of beginning and follows distances and directions around the boundary. Which system is used for Rowan in Duluth involving a vacant lot priced at $389,000? Option A, gross rent multiplier. Option B, capitalization rate. Option C, straight line depreciation. Option D, meets and bounds. The correct answer is option D, meets and bounds. Meets and bounds descriptions trace boundaries using distances, directions, and a point of beginning. GRM, cap rate, and depreciation are valuation concepts. The boundary walking format identifies the legal description method.